You've endured the fire, passed the final test, and now your breakthrough begins. The waiting is over. This is your moment to rise, to move, to believe like never before. You're no longer being prepared, you're being positioned. Step forward boldly. The old season is done. The new one begins now. There are moments in life when it feels like everything is falling apart. You're hit from all sides, emotionally, financially, spiritually. People walk away, opportunities dry up, doors close that you thought were wide open. And in those moments, it's easy to wonder if life is trying to break you, if the weight is too much to carry, and if maybe, just maybe, you weren't made for this after all. But the truth is, the battle you've been in was never designed to destroy you. It was designed to develop you. Pain has a purpose, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. When you were stretched beyond your comfort zone, it was not to punish you, but to expand you. Growth rarely happens in the easy places. It happens when you're forced to face the things you didn't think you could survive. You see, strength doesn't come from success. It comes from struggle. It comes from the nights you cried and still showed up the next morning, from the disappointments that didn't define you, from the pressure that revealed who you really are. The battle wasn't random. It was targeted, not to expose your weakness, but to uncover your potential. Some doors had to shut, some people had to leave, some paths had to be blocked, not because you were disqualified, but because you were being redirected to something bigger than what you settled for. Sometimes it takes a battle to wake up the warrior inside of you. Sometimes the only way to see what you're capable of is to be placed in a situation where you have no choice but to rise. And let's be honest, you've changed. You're not the same person who walked into the storm. You're stronger now, wiser, sharper. The tears taught you. The silence refined you. The delay built something in you that instant success never could. While others saw failure, heaven saw foundation. What felt like the end was actually the start of becoming. You were being built in the dark when no one was clapping, when no one saw your effort. But what was planted in pain is now ready to bloom in purpose. So when you look back, don't see a graveyard of disappointments, see a training ground of destiny. You were never being buried, you were being planted. The battle stripped away what wasn't meant to last so that what's real, what's solid, and what's unshakable could remain. You didn't come out of the fire empty, you came out refined. There's a certain kind of relief that comes when you finish a test. You breathe deeper, you think it's over, you expect rest. And yet what you often find is not a moment of stillness, but a moment of awakening. Because the final test isn't the end, it's the doorway to the beginning. Tests don't just measure what you know, they reveal who you are. They expose what's real and what's still being refined. When you walk through a final test, whether it's a season of hardship, waiting, disappointment, or pressure, it feels like you're at the edge of everything. But really, you're at the start of something new. The pressure you felt wasn't leading to a finish line. It was setting you up for a launch. Think about it, when something is tested, it's not to damage it, it's to prove it. Diamonds are tested, gold is tested, rockets are tested before they ever leave the ground. Why? Because what's valuable must be verified. The tests you faced weren't sent to crush you, but to confirm that you're ready. Ready to step into a level of purpose, authority, and identity that couldn't have been trusted to the former version of you. You see, you thought the test was the destination, but the test was the preparation. You didn't just survive, you learned. You sharpened your discernment. You discovered your limits and pushed past them. You found out that you don't need a perfect environment to grow, just a little faith, a little fight, and the will to keep showing up. That kind of breakthrough doesn't come easy. It comes through testing. And now that the test is done, you're not being put aside. You're being positioned. Too many people walk out of a test thinking they've reached the end. But in reality, the test was the closing scene of one chapter and the opening scene of the next. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's the moment when your experience becomes your equipment. The pain becomes power. The lesson becomes legacy. So if you've just walked through something that tested every fiber of your faith, your patience, your identity, don't assume it was to finish you. It was to free you. Free you from the fear that said you weren't enough. Free you from the doubt that kept you small. Free you from the weight of pretending, because what's ahead of you needs all of you, authentic, whole, bold, and unshaken. This is the beginning, not of survival, but of significance, not of proving, but of walking in what you already carry. You're stepping into the real thing now. You've been tested, proven, and released. The waiting room has become the runway. The final test is done, and the journey into purpose begins now. Sometimes we measure progress by results, how much we gained, how fast we moved, how visible the success was. But there's a different kind of progress that doesn't get celebrated enough. The kind where you simply didn't quit. You endured. You stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. You held on when everything in you said to let go. And that endurance wasn't just survival, it was evidence. Evidence of your growth, evidence of your strength, evidence that even when it hurt, you refused to give up on what was inside you. That kind of endurance doesn't come from hype or emotion. It comes from conviction. It comes from knowing that you were built for more than just the mountaintop moments. You were made for the valleys too. You proved it not by shouting, but by standing. Every day you kept moving forward, even if it was slow, was a declaration that you believed in something greater than your circumstances. When others gave up, you stayed the course. Not because you had all the answers, but because you had faith. Even when it didn't make sense, even when the outcome was uncertain. That's what endurance is, trusting the process when you can't yet see the promise. And let's be honest, there were days when endurance didn't look like courage. It looked like tears. It looked like silence. It looked like getting out of bed when you felt numb inside. But it was still endurance. It was still movement. And that movement, however small, was the proof that you were still in the fight. It's easy to celebrate the visible wins, but the unseen moments where you could have caved but didn't, those are what really count. That's where the deep work happens. That's where character is formed, where purpose is shaped. Your endurance told the story your mouth didn't have the words for. It told heaven and hell that you were unshakable. People may have misunderstood your journey. They may not have seen the quiet battles, the lonely nights, the internal war that raged behind your calm exterior, but God saw it and He marked it, because endurance doesn't go unnoticed. It qualifies you. It prepares you for doors that talent alone can't open. You didn't just survive the season. You validated your calling in it. You showed that the assignment wasn't a phase or a fantasy. It was real. And you proved yourself, not to others, but to yourself. You found out what you were really made of. You tapped into a well you didn't even know was inside you. That's why you're still here, not by accident, not by luck, but because your endurance was the evidence that you're ready, ready for more, ready for greater, ready to step into what was always yours, because you stayed long enough to see it come to life. There comes a point when survival stops being strength and starts becoming a limitation. We're taught to hustle, to grind, to keep pushing no matter what. And for a season, that's necessary. There are moments when survival is the only language you know, when you wake up just trying to make it through the day, when every step forward feels like a fight. But what got you through one season won't take you into the next. Breakthrough doesn't happen when you keep striving. It happens when you finally let go and surrender. Survival keeps you focused on the next crisis. Surrender shifts your focus to the next calling. When you're in survival mode, you live from a place of control. You're trying to manage everything, fix everything, hold it all together. You fear that if you stop pushing, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, real breakthrough begins when you release the need to control and trust that something greater is already working on your behalf. Surrender isn't weakness, it's alignment. It's not giving up, it's giving over. It's saying, I've done all I can. Now I trust that grace will do the rest. There's power in that moment, because the breakthrough you've been praying for doesn't live in the place of tension, it lives in the place of trust. And you can't step into that if your hands are clenched with fear and striving. You have to open them, you have to let go. So many people are stuck not because they lack talent, not because they're not trying, but because they haven't learned how to surrender. They're fighting battles that were never theirs to fight. They're carrying burdens they were never meant to bear. And all the while, breakthrough is waiting, but it won't meet you in the grind. It meets you in the release. This is where everything shifts. When you move from trying to prove something to resting in who you already are. When you stop chasing identity through performance and start walking in purpose through peace, that's when doors start to open that you didn't have to force. That's when clarity starts to come without striving for it. That's when relationships align, strength returns, and vision expands. Because surrender doesn't take away your fire, it refines it. It doesn't kill your ambition, it anchors it in something deeper. You stop living for approval and start living from assurance. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop grinding for control and start flowing with confidence. Breakthrough was never about doing more. It was about trusting deeper. You've survived long enough. You've proven that you're a fighter. But now it's time to become a builder, a creator, a leader. And that requires something different. Not more effort, but more surrender. This is the invitation. Let go of the mindset that kept you alive in the wilderness. You're not in survival anymore. You're stepping into something new, something stable, something sacred, and it all starts with surrender. It's hard to understand in the moment. The opportunity looked perfect. The timing felt right. You gave your all, prayed with hope, showed up with faith, and still the door slammed shut. Rejection stings. Detours are disorienting. You start to question everything, your worth, your direction, even your prayers. But what if that closed door wasn't the end of the road, but the hand of protection? What if what you call disappointment was actually divine defense? There are things we want that we're not ready for, people we chase who are not meant to walk with us, paths we pursue that look promising but lead to places that would drain us, distract us, or destroy us. And sometimes the most loving thing God can do is block the way, not to punish but to protect, not to frustrate but to guide. We think protection always feels peaceful, but sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like silence, delay, or unanswered prayers. But what you didn't get may have saved you from something that would have taken pieces of you couldn't afford to lose. You prayed for a relationship and it ended. You begged for the job and it slipped through your fingers. You were ready to invest everything into a dream that suddenly died. It felt like failure, but heaven was saying, not this, not yet, not there. Because what you couldn't see were the things coming around the corner. The weight you weren't built to carry yet, the cost that would have come later, the doors that led to rooms filled with pressure instead of peace. Closed doors are painful because they touch our pride, they challenge our plans. But they're also proof that you're not doing this alone. Someone bigger is guiding your steps. If every door you wanted opened had actually opened, you wouldn't be where you are now. You might have settled. You might have been stuck. You might have missed what was actually meant for you. That's the beauty of divine protection. It doesn't always make sense in real time, but it makes perfect sense when you look back. And here's the truth. Protection is a promise, not a punishment. Every no carries purpose. Every shut door is a signal you're being redirected, not rejected. The delay is not denial, it's preparation. The silence isn't abandonment, it's strategy. What you thought was blocking you may have been saving you, shielding you, preserving the version of you that will walk through the right door at the right time. Closed doors hurt, but they also heal. They make space for something better. They remind us that we're not in control, and that's not a bad thing. Because when you trust the one who sees the whole picture, you stop trying to force what was never meant to be. You stop chasing what doesn't fit. You stop banging on doors that weren't built for you. Some doors had to close because something greater is opening, and this time it won't require you to shrink, to beg, or to break. It will fit, it will flow, and it will be protected. Fire has a way of changing everything. It doesn't leave things as it found them. It burns off what's unnecessary, reveals what's hidden, and reshapes what remains. And when you walk through the fire, when you endure the loss, the betrayal, the pressure, the pain, you don't come out the same. You're not supposed to. That fire wasn't just about what you were going through. It was about who you were becoming. At first, the fire feels like destruction. Everything familiar starts to fall apart. The comfort, the control, the identity you once clung to, it all starts slipping through your fingers, and in the middle of it, you wonder if anything will be left when it's over. But then something shifts. The fire that once looked like it was consuming you starts to reveal something stronger inside you, something you didn't even know was there. You begin to realize that what the fire takes away, you didn't need. The relationships that couldn't withstand the heat weren't meant to go with you. The fears that used to paralyze you begin to melt away. The habits, the doubts, the lies you believed about yourself, they start to lose their grip. You see more clearly, speak more boldly, walk more confidently. That's what fire does. It forges. It doesn't just burn, it builds. And you've changed. You're not the same person who entered the fire. The version of you that once settled for less is gone. The you that needed validation, the you that carried guilt, the you that walked in shame, you buried that in the ashes. What emerged is refined, clearer, focused, not perfect, but purified. Others may still see the old version of you, but you know better. You've met yourself in the furnace. You've faced the fears that used to own you. You've endured nights where you had nothing but faith left, and even that felt like it was hanging by a thread. But here you are, not because the fire didn't touch you, but because it didn't destroy you. It refined you. There's a strength in you now that can't be faked. A wisdom that doesn't come from books or titles. It comes from walking through something real. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to strive to prove anything. The fire proved it for you. You're still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. What used to scare you doesn't anymore. What used to break you now builds you. You've learned how to lose and not lose yourself, how to wait without wasting, how to fight without becoming bitter. And most importantly, you've learned that your identity isn't found in the fire, it's revealed by it. The fire didn't define you, it refined you. It showed you who you are and what you're capable of. So don't look back with regret. Look back with reverence. You're not the same person who entered the fire, and that's exactly the point. Breakthrough doesn't start with opportunity. It doesn't start with open doors, connections, or applause. It begins with something far more personal and powerful: belief. Not belief in a perfect plan or a guaranteed outcome, but belief that something greater is possible. That what's inside you is bigger than what's around you. That what you carry is worth fighting for, even if no one else sees it yet. Belief is the spark. It's what gets you up when nothing around you changes. It's what keeps you moving when the evidence says you should stop. It's the quiet decision deep inside that says, I don't have to see it to believe it, I believe it, so I'll keep showing up for it. That's where breakthrough starts. Not in the external shift, but in the internal stance. If you don't believe, you'll settle. You'll shrink to fit what's comfortable. You'll talk yourself out of ideas that scare you. You'll wait for someone to validate you before you take your next step. But belief breaks that cycle. It pulls you out of fear and into faith. It tells you you don't need permission to move forward. You need conviction. And belief doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It's the voice that says, try again after a failure. Apply again after rejection. Speak again, even after silence. It's not blind optimism, it's grounded faith. Faith that what's in motion within you is connected to something bigger than what's standing in front of you. Because the truth is, most breakthroughs don't look like breakthroughs at first. They look like small steps, hard decisions, quiet moments where you choose to trust instead of turning back. You don't need the whole plan to believe. You don't need proof. What you need is alignment, your heart, your vision, your words, your actions moving in the same direction. That's when momentum starts to build. That's when the atmosphere begins to shift. Not because circumstances changed overnight, but because you did. Because your belief started to move things internally before anything changed externally. Every breakthrough story you admire started with someone who simply believed it was possible. They believed in the dark, they believed without applause, they believed when it felt foolish, and their belief made room for what others called impossible. Your story is no different. The power you need isn't out there, it's already in you. It just needs to be activated by belief. Belief lifts your eyes, it shifts your posture, it changes how you talk, how you walk, how you pray, how you dream. It's the birthplace of vision and the fuel for perseverance. You don't have to feel strong to believe, you just have to decide that your faith is stronger than your fear. So let the belief rise, let it interrupt the doubt, let it move you to act even when you're uncertain. Breakthrough isn't waiting on a perfect moment. It's waiting on you to believe enough to step forward, because once you believe, really believe, nothing stays the same. There are moments in life when everything shifts, not because the world suddenly makes it easier, but because something inside you stands up. Something in you recognizes, this is it. This is my appointed time. Not earned by effort, not manufactured by striving, but given, prepared, and set aside just for you. This isn't random, this isn't luck, this is alignment, and it's time to walk in it, not quietly, not fearfully, but boldly. You've been through the delays, the detours, the doubts. You've questioned whether you missed it, whether it passed you by, but what's for you won't be stolen by time or lost to circumstance. Appointed means chosen. Appointed means established. That means everything you've walked through wasn't a distraction. It was a setup. Every no, every closed door, every season of waiting didn't disqualify you. It prepared you. You're not behind. You're right on time. But now comes the decision. Will you shrink back into the version of you that played it safe? Or will you rise into the version that's been refined for this very moment? Because stepping into your appointed time requires more than recognition. It demands boldness, not arrogance, not performance, but quiet, grounded confidence that says, I've been prepared for this. I've been entrusted with this. I'm not walking in by accident. I'm walking in on assignment. Boldness doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're not waiting for certainty to obey. It means you're willing to take the step, speak the word, make the move before the crowd applauds, before the path is paved, before the fear disappears. This is your moment to shift from waiting for something to happen to realizing that you are what's happening. You carry what's needed. You bring the change. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the fulfillment of a promise, the beginning of something new. The boldness you need isn't rooted in your resume. It's rooted in your revelation. The revelation that if this is your appointed time, then everything you need is already in reach. The grace, the wisdom, the strength, it's already being poured out. But it only flows when you move. Miracles happen in motion. Breakthroughs are released in boldness. There's no more room for hesitation. You don't need another confirmation. You don't need everyone's approval. You need courage, the kind that comes from knowing who sent you and why you're here. This isn't just a season, it's a signal, a divine announcement. You are ready, you are called, you are chosen for this. So walk into the room differently. Speak with authority, build with intention, pray with fire, dream with clarity. You don't have to force anything, just follow the rhythm of grace. Your appointed time has come, the doors are open, the atmosphere is set. What you were made for is now calling you forward. Don't hesitate, don't look back. This is your appointed time. Walk in it boldly. Every challenge you've faced, every test you've endured, and every closed door you've encountered has been shaping you for this very moment. You are not the same person who began this journey. You've been refined, strengthened, and prepared. Your breakthrough begins now, rooted in belief, sustained by endurance, and propelled by boldness. Trust that the timing is perfect, that protection has guided you, and that surrender opens the way to true freedom. Step forward with confidence. This is your appointed time. Walk in it boldly, knowing that everything you need is already within you. Your breakthrough is not just coming, it's here.